Hi, and welcome to today's recorded webinar on a guide to remote working with RingCentral. Today's webinar will be hosted by myself, Sunny Dami. I've been at RingCentral for 6 years now and look after product marketing across Europe. I'm very lucky to have a few of my colleagues join me today, and I'll hand over to them to introduce themselves. So over to you, Kimberly.
Hi everyone, I'm Kimberly Roy. I'm a solutions engineer working at RingCentral and I've been here since around July last year.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashima. I'm a product marketer working for RingCentral Europe. I'm based in Dublin and I've been working on and off remotely in my career for the last 6 years.
Hey guys, I'm Sam O'Brien. I work managing the UK and EMEA websites, and I also manage a team of remote employees across the Philippines and Odessa. So got a lot to share.
Cool, thank you all. So lots of insight from people working remotely and also managing remote workers. But to start off with, I wanted to go through a few tips and tricks and just a little bit of an overview of how we've helped businesses work remotely, and especially in times like we're going through right now, it's very important for us to be prepared to be able to work remote as and when we need to. So to start off, just wanted to talk a little bit about the RingCentral solution. So RingCentral provide cloud communications to give you the ability to call, message, meet, and work from anywhere. This is all provided through a cloud-based application. So you're able to use the tools that we provide to be able to call, message, and meet across any device, across any location, and provide your business the ability to keep working whether you're able to be in the office or not. And it's very simple and instant setup. You have access to all of your features across multiple different devices, and Kimberly will be going through some of those later on in this webinar today. So RingCentral Office can ensure business continuity. As I mentioned, it does include multiple different elements. The first being cloud telephony, making sure you've got the ability to make and receive calls across your devices. You could forward calls on from your existing on-premise system, or if you have already moved to RingCentral or are about to move to RingCentral, you can port all of your numbers over, so you have all of your numbers and all of your calls being routed to your employees and your colleagues wherever they may be. We also include video conferencing, so we're on the RingCentral webinars platform today, but we also include video conferencing as part of the platform, and you've got the ability to have RingCentral video meetings across all of your employees as well. So you can keep connected, you can keep a great way of connecting with your employees, with your customers, and video is a great way of doing so rather than traditional email. When you're on video, you're a lot more engaged, and it still keeps that personal connection. We also have collaboration tools with RingCentral Clip. So you have the ability to send messages to individuals or to groups and teams, share files, collaborate, set tasks. And Clip really does help keep you connected to your teams, to your colleagues, and also to potential customers, as you can also invite external participants to be part of the RingCentral Clip environment. And for RingCentral, we always do have a number of our employees working remotely, and Glip has been a great way for us to always stay connected. And as I mentioned, one key part of RingCentral and what we do is enable all of our services across any device from anywhere. Over and above this, we also do offer key integrations into some of the native solutions that you may be using, so the likes of Office 365, Google G Suite, Salesforce, Zendesk. We provide integrations into those tools. So if you are working in those environments, you can use telephony, messaging, and collaboration within that native experience. So it keeps you connected as well as keeping you working on the tools that you're used to. So there are obviously a lot of people looking at remote working solutions right now, and with cloud telephony, you can keep the lights on through any of these circumstances. Some of the ways in which you can do that is a very simple setup. So RingCentral can be set up instantly. You can add users across the globe in an instant. We've got, as I mentioned, over 100 plug-and-play integrations, which include the likes of Office 365, Google, Salesforce, and more. You can download apps instantly. So if you have got employees that need to have access given to them, you can set them up on the account instantly, and they can download apps from available app stores or from the RingCentral App Store and get ready to start using their service instantly. As I mentioned earlier, you can forward calls from your existing system to your mobile or desktop apps and answer them anywhere, or you've got the ability to be able to port in your numbers as and when needed. And you can access everything through web browsers. You don't need physical devices to be shipped out. If you do want those shipped out, we are able to ship them next day delivery. So you've got the best of both worlds, being able to get started straight away. And then if you do want to have a physical device, you can have that shipped out whenever you need it. And that's how RingCentral are helping provide business continuity. We give you the ability to call, message, and meet, regardless of wherever you are, keeping your calls flowing through to individuals that are needed to take calls wherever they may be. So these are some screenshots of our mobile device. You've got an integrated telephony solution. You've got persistent team messaging and embedded RingCentral meetings. And Kimberly will go through a demo of some of these features in a bit more detail shortly. So as I mentioned, RingCentral meetings is a great way to stay connected. It can remove the risk of face-to-face interactions when we're being told to try and reduce risk right now. Video meetings is a great way to resolve this situation. And we've seen a huge uptake in RingCentral meetings over the last few weeks. The meetings platform is very easy to use. So it's very intuitive and very native and works very similarly across desktop and mobile devices. And you've got very intuitive screen sharing, as I'm showing right now. And this is all accessible via web clients or via full downloadable applications. So you can keep connected with employees, colleagues, friends, and customers all through wherever you may be and if you're working remotely. As I mentioned, we do have RingCentral Clip included, so you have access to all of these features as well as collaboration. So as you can see from the screenshot in the top right corner, you've got the ability in individual chats, in group meetings or in Teams to make audio or video calls. So you can invite everyone to an instant audio or video conference, which is a great way to keep connected, as I mentioned. You can change your presence, shown in the top right-hand corner. So I'm obviously in a meeting right now, so my presence shows as being busy, but if you want to manually change that, you've also got the ability to. And then on the right-hand side, on your shelf, you've got the ability to show any events that you've got, assign any tasks, share any links you may have, and also see all of your files and integrations. And then at the bottom there, you can see how you can send messages to an entire team or an individual. So it's a great way to stay connected when you may not all be in the same location. So using the RingCentral Clip application helps keep you connected with all of your teams, employees, colleagues, and customers, especially at times when you may not all be in the same location. As I mentioned, you've also got the ability to be able to call. So this is native functionality across the mobile and desktop applications. You've got a fully feature-rich calling capabilities, so the ability to forward calls, to be in hunt groups or call groups. You can port over any numbers that are needed, and we've got smart routing built into the platform. And as I mentioned, this is a fully global platform, so you can set up users across the globe instantly. You can also set up users across the UK very easily and give them local calling numbers and local dial codes. And this is a very global, secure and reliable platform, which is delivered with analytics at the core of everything that we do. So, as I mentioned, you've got the ability to work on any device, any mode, and anywhere, and RingCentral can help you do that very, very quickly. So what do you need to get started if you are working from home or working remotely? So access to a computer is very important. Having a good internet connection is key. There are some tools available on the RingCentral website to help you identify if your internet connection is strong enough. A dedicated workspace is always a great tool to have. If you've got somewhere where you can have set up for you to be able to work, a good desk space, maybe an additional screen and headsets, as I've got, always help. And then RingCentral Office, as we mentioned, RingCentral Office provides the tools that you need to be connected, to be able to collaborate, stay connected, and communicate with your colleagues, employees, and customers whenever you are working remotely. So how can you activate a remote team overnight? We've obviously seen in the news there's lots of talk about businesses and companies going into a remote work situation. We've put some key steps out on how you can get this started with RingCentral very, very quickly, and our team of experts are also available to help should you need further information. First thing, you can either purchase RingCentral Office or, as you may have seen in some of our latest blogs and latest communications, we are providing elements of our service free for those in affected areas and those in industries which are most impacted. So if that's you, you can obviously get a free version of RingCentral Office to be able to continue working and supporting your customers and colleagues. Ask your employees to download the RingCentral app on their devices. Have administrators set up users, and they'll get an email into their account letting them know how to set up the RingCentral service. And then forward calls from your existing service through to RingCentral, or if you are migrating over fully, you can start taking calls on the RingCentral service instantly. Here's a quick handy infographic to show you how it's done, and it really is very, very simple. You can add users quicker than it takes to make a cup of tea, and you can start forwarding calls and having calls accepted onto the RingCentral platform instantly. Follow up with your employees. Make sure they have sufficient internet and they are able to support file sharing and video meetings if they need to. Setting up company-wide training and using tools like this webinar and the other tools that we've got available is very, very useful. Sometimes people that haven't regularly worked from home may need just a bit of insight and some tips and tricks on how to do so. And also set some expectations when you want to connect with your colleagues, when you want to connect with your employees, some progress reports. Turn on video when you're doing a video meeting. It's a very small thing, but it really does help and really does help people stay engaged when they're in a RingCentral meeting. And get on with your business operations. RingCentral help keep that business continuity going. And if there are any other tips and tricks you need, reach out to RingCentral. We're more than happy to help. So that's how you can transition very quickly in need of a overnight transition. But there are other tips and tricks on how to transition from an in-office culture to a remote working culture. And here are a few tips that we've got. Creating a remote work policy. Help your employees understand what remote working means. What does it mean for them? What does it mean for you? Create a company handbook. Give them the tips and tricks that we're sharing now on the best practices, when they should be checking in, using video when you're on a video conference. Make a note of important dates. I think it's important to know when you've got check-ins, when you've got team meetings, so that everybody is aware, and using tools like RingCentral Clip to share these dates with people is important. Do the necessary admin stuff. Make sure people have got access to the accounts that they need. Remote working is great until you can't access one of your tools. So make sure your employees have VPN access. Make sure they've got access to Outlook on different devices or G Suite on different devices. And make sure they've got access to IT as and when they need. Have a project management plan. So put into place some steps that your employees can follow, but also leaders within your business can follow to make sure all of your employees are ready to work remotely when they need to. Invest in the right tools and applications. RingCentral is one set of tools that can help you, but I've obviously mentioned a number of others. So Office 365, G Suite, Salesforce, Zendesk. There are a whole host of tools available which enable remote working and give you access to the tools that you need instantly. Creating a communication plan for team members is very, very important. Keep them informed of what's going on. Give them access to communication to share with your own customers, but also with your team members. And also create a plan for having employees meet in person. Now, obviously, situations like we're going through right now, this may be postponed, but face-to-face meetings will also be important, and staying connected will be important. When you can't do that, video meetings is a great tool to have in the interim. And make a monthly and quarterly check-in plan. Check in, if you can't do that weekly, check in bi-weekly, monthly or quarterly with the wider team, not just your employees or your colleagues. Having team all hands on video meetings is a great way to stay connected and make sure you are communicating with all of your employees and colleagues. Another one which is not mentioned here, which over the last few weeks I've seen become more and more important, is to accept people's situations in the scenario they may be in. So if people have got kids that are no longer at school because schools have closed down, or other partners who are also working at the same time, be accommodating to background noise, be accommodating to people having to jump off a video meeting if they're going to have to see to their children, or see to pets, or see to any other responsibilities they may have. A lot of businesses are now having to transition to working remotely and not anticipating having children home from school, etc. So be accommodating and work together to help support your colleagues in difficult situations. So we've also got some hacks for working from home for your employees, and these were collated with the help of Ashima, Sam and Kimberly, because they are all working remotely and managing different teams. So they all mentioned making sure you have the right tools. I think this is definitely very important. Set up your home office space. I think having that separate space to be able to work and shut off from normal life is definitely helpful. Set clear work and home boundaries. I think this is a very, very important one. It's very easy to go through into the evening and start off very early, but have boundaries of knowing when you can shut off. Define your working hours so you know when your lunchtime is. Move away from your workspace and get some space away from your desk. Set reoccurring meetings with video on. As I mentioned, employees are a lot more engaged when video is switched on. I think people with video on take in 95% more information than they would via email, so it's a great tool to have. Plan your daily schedule. Know when you're checking in with your employees, with your colleagues, with your customers, when to switch off and crack on with work, and also when to stay away and move away and maybe go for a walk. Make a social plan. Connect with your colleagues on video, not just about work. Before we started this webinar, I had a chat with the rest of the team of how we are working remotely and what's going on. But it's great to talk socially as well. Don't just always make it about business. And that rolls into the next one. Have a casual communication plan. With the news today that a lot of other businesses, a lot of sporting activities are also being shut down. There's a lot to talk about right now, so also keep it casual and talk about other things other than just work. So that's the sort of formal presentation part of today. There are a whole host of resources RingCentral are making available. We've got our blog, we've got our knowledge base, we've got our support center, and we've also got our social handles. If you want to learn more about how RingCentral can help with remote working, please do reach out to us. We're more than happy to help and share our insights. But for now, I'll pass over to Kimberly, who will share a few demo pieces of the RingCentral platform and how you can enable remote working with RingCentral. Over to you, Kimberly.
Thank you very much, Sunny. Hello everyone. I'm going to be demonstrating how our unified collaboration solutions can help you to work remotely. The most important thing for me while I'm working remotely is that I can stay in contact with my colleagues and I can stay in contact with my customers. So here is my RingCentral mobile app. From here I can make any calls to customers or colleagues that I need to. Now this is actually my personal mobile phone, but my personal number isn't going to be shown when I make any calls. I can choose here whether I want to show my direct number or whether I want to show a company number instead. From my contacts page, I can easily make calls to my colleagues. Up along the top bar here, I can favorite any colleagues I have if I need to reach out to them quite regularly. Here I have a good overview of their presence, or I can look at their presence within a contact card. So I can see here that Jane and Mary are currently not logged in, John and Lewis are busy, but Margaret, Clive and Agatha are all available. If I click here for some more information, I can see that Lewis has actually updated his status to say that he's currently in a meeting. I can also see his extension, his direct number and his email address. It would be very easy for me to click to call him from here. Similarly, if I need to know the presence of a colleague who isn't saved under my favorites, I can click in on their contact card here and I can see that, for example, Douglas is currently available. I can also enable access to my personal mobile phone contacts here if I have customer details saved here. We also have an Outlook integration, which would allow you to be able to access any Outlook contacts from here as well. My mobile app presence is synced through to my calendar. So if I'm in a meeting or if I'm logged out, my presence is going to reflect this. I can, however, always go in and manually update my presence if I need to. Having meetings remotely is also really easy from here. Again, I can choose to use either my mobile app or a desktop app for my meetings. On my mobile, I can click here to invite people to a conference call, or if I already have meetings in my calendar, I can click to join them directly from here. I can choose to make calls using my RingCentral mobile app, but maybe I would prefer to use my home phone instead. I can easily go in and update this on my extension settings and under my call handling and forwarding. Here I can specify exactly how I want to make and receive my calls. Do I want my desktop apps and smartphones to be ringing first, or do I just want everything to go straight through to my home phone? I can make any changes I want directly from within here. Now the user I'm currently logged into is the super admin for my demo business. So not only can I update and edit my personal extension call settings from my mobile, I can also really quickly go in and make any updates I need to company-wide settings, such as greetings or call queue setups. When it comes to internal collaboration, the RingCentral app becomes really valuable. I have this on my phone as well as a separate app, and I can access it straight here from the bottom right-hand corner. Again, this application is available directly from my mobile, or I could have it as a desktop app or even straight from my web browser. This is a collaboration tool, so I can direct message any of my colleagues or even any customers directly from here. It can be direct messaging or it can be messaging within a team. Beyond that, I can also place calls directly from within here or click to attend meetings from this application as well. I'm going to click in here to view one of my team group chats. So this is just a business-wide announcements page. I can click to start an ad hoc conference if I want to. I can click to start a video call. In this case, we've had a new member join the team and people are able to welcome her here. As you can see here, I can also go through and direct message any colleagues I need to. If I @mention them like so, it's really going to highlight to them that I'm trying to reach out to them. Using the RingCentral app just makes it very easy to work together and to collaborate remotely. Now I'm going to place a call through so you can see what that's going to look like. I can see that in this case the call went through the IVR menu and the customer selected the sales team option. When I answer that here, I have a number of different call options I can make. I could click to add someone to the call if I'd like the help of another colleague. I also have some additional call actions if I click here. So I could choose to park the call so that another colleague can take it at another extension. I could flip the call to a different device. My business currently has on-demand call recording set up, so I could choose to start recording parts of this call. I'm going to transfer now to a different colleague. So when I click here to transfer, I can actually see that Agatha's presence is available, so I can click to transfer through to her. I have some different transfer options as well, so I'm going to ask her first, let her have a bit of a warning before I transfer the call across. Once I'm ready to complete the transfer, it's just a question of clicking this button here, and then you're all sorted. So as I mentioned before while I was showing the mobile app, you can access any of these changes either from the mobile app or from a web browser. You just need to have internet access. So in this case, I'm logged in as the super admin, and I can go in and make any changes that I need to directly from here. If I'm just a normal user and I want to make some changes to my settings, I can also do that from the browser. So now I'm just changing to the super admin's extension. And if I go in here to call handling rules, I can make all those same changes that I was able to on the mobile app. Similarly, before we mentioned that you can access the collaboration piece from within either a browser as well or a desktop app. Just showing you here what that looks like. Again, it's very similar. I have my different team pages here, and I have my direct messages here. And it's very easy to share files. They're all going to appear in this bar here, or to create tasks and work together from within this platform.
Thank you, Kimberly. That was a great run through of the tools we've got available. If anyone's interested in finding out more, please do reach out to RingCentral through our website or any of our social channels, and we'll be more than happy to show you more. Right, so we've got Sam and Ashima still here with us. So Ashima, as you mentioned, you've been working remotely for the last 6 years. Must have learned a lot and got some lessons learned and tips and tricks for how to do that. So I think one of the key questions that comes up a lot is, how do you stay connected with the rest of your team when you're not in the office and not sort of in the same location as them? What have you found works well for you, and what have you found maybe that is quite difficult?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, just to put some context kind of on my background of working remotely, right now I work for RingCentral Europe, and I'm based out of Dublin, but I'm 100% a home worker. I report into London, UK. That's where most of my team is, and I connect with them on a daily basis. In my previous role, I was in Canada, and as big as Canada is, I was reporting into Montreal from Vancouver, so 3,000 miles away from my boss. A lot of my team was in Toronto, so I have been in this connecting remotely on Teams environment for a really long time. And so, while I've been in an office, in capacities, but I'm often very far away from either my customers or the people that I report into. And what I've found is, the types of things you have to do to run a remote company or run a partially remote team well generally make you a better company or team overall. So the same way, the types of things you have to do to be a good remote employee make you a better employee overall. I'd say that the first thing I do is, you have to raise the bandwidth on communication. This isn't just your leader's job. As a remote employee, you kind of take that on yourself to make sure that you're over communication is not bad when you're remote. Letting your boss know what you're working on, more often than not is actually a very good trait when you're remote, because they don't get to have those quick chats with you in the office. I think that's really important. I create a lot of personal systems for focus and productivity, and we could do a whole webinar on just that. But you as a remote employee, I think you get a lot of interest in people like Tim Ferriss are writing loads of books on, efficiency, productivity, and how to focus yourself. There's loads of content online about that, and you can research on, what works for you in your own personal systems. But also, I create measurable goals between me and my boss. My boss is Sunny. So, I set measurable goals for myself every week, every month, every quarter, and we go through that every week on, what did I achieve? What do I plan to do next week? What's my monthly plan? What's my quarterly plan? And yeah, I think that raising that bandwidth on communication is really what it all comes down to.
Cool. Some great insights there. So taking that from a different perspective, Sam, you mentioned you're managing remote workers in different locations, different time zones. As Shima mentioned, over communication is a great way to stay connected and be aware of what's going on. What works for you and your team, and what are some of the lessons you've learned in managing remote teams globally?
Yeah, I think a lot of what Ashima says is the same. Over communication is definitely key. What I think is important is understanding how to communicate. So, for instance, sometimes you just need to send a message. As we've seen a demo, we can just send a Clip message, easily understand what's going on, and be able to update people quickly. At times, you need a phone call, so you're going to want to jump on one-to-one call with someone and just be able to go through a few, key updates really quickly. But then there's times where you need a video meeting, and I think, when we're having team meetings, it's important to have a video meeting, have cameras on, and everyone just to be able to get on the same page really quickly. I find that one tip I have is to try and have open communication as much as possible. So by that, I mean, instead of going like on a one-to-one route, like we set up groups, we set up teams, so we're able to communicate out to everybody instantly. That doesn't mean that the information is always that important to everybody in the group, but by ensuring that people see what's going on, then they can, weigh in with their thoughts, add suggestions, or even just know what everyone else is working on. So I think that's the key thing, like communicating openly, making sure you've got regular check-ins, making sure your boss knows what you're doing. And then I think on the other side as well, a lot of people are nervous about remote working because they're concerned their employees aren't going to work, and they're concerned, they don't know what their employees are doing. So I find that you touched on it earlier, but having a little bit of leeway. People do have certain circumstances where they have to go and pick up the kids or, run an errand. Like that is going to happen. What I like is the way we work, we're still contactable. So if I need somebody urgently, even if they're at the shops, I can still get hold of them on their mobile, via the RingCentral app. And that way, like, I'm lenient. As long as the work's getting done, I don't mind. As long as they can, be contactable when needed.
Cool. Some great input there. So a question for you, Kimberly. Your role at RingCentral is as a sales engineer, so you're engaging very regularly with end customers and running demos. How are you seeing businesses out there leverage remote working and leverage some of the tools that you're demoing and you're showing within their businesses?
Quite a lot of the customers that we have coming through, they are very interested in being able to expand the remote working that is available through to their employees. So it's definitely something that's quite important for a lot of customers at the moment. So we're definitely seeing quite a big interest in things like video collaboration, so being able to have remote meetings, being able to share your screens with people all over the world or even across the country. Over the past couple of weeks especially, we're also having a lot of interest in more smaller scale internal collaboration, so things like the RingCentral apps that I showed you earlier. We're having a lot of interest in a lot of customers who want to be able to have that level of collaboration and communication together, no matter where their different employees are based.
Cool, thank you very much. So thank you all for joining the webinar today. Thank you everyone for listening and finding out more about RingCentral. If you are interested in learning more, please do visit ringcentral.co.uk, and we'd be more than happy to help with your remote working capabilities and how to support your employees. But for now, that's everything from us, so thank you.